Hi, everyone. It's a great day, isn't it? Today is Wednesday, and I'm not in the classroom. I'm away at a workshop. Keelana Hansen is running this class, and I just wanted to give you some information about the work you're doing today. So today you are working on the Capstone assignment number 4, and just like last week, you can get it done in this session if you focus and work on it. It is due Thursday at 11:30, so you have between now and then to get that done. We're working on part 4, and part 4 is the trial. This is a little trickier than last week. There's 3 parts to the assignment. The first part is to identify the role of the prosecutor and the role of the defense counsel. The role of the prosecutor is obviously to prosecute the case, to provide a prima facie case, to convince the judge beyond a reasonable doubt. Remember, that was the standard that we set in the last standard of proof in the last assignment. So the Crown's job is to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And they do that by introducing evidence, examining witnesses, and cross-examining defense witnesses. The role of the defense counsel is to defend the accused. So the defense counsel is responsible for raising a reasonable doubt. That is, can they cause doubt in the mind of the person who is the trier of fact, either the judge or the jury. And their job also is to examine witnesses and cross-examine witnesses and bring in evidence as well. That's it for part 1. Part 2 is a little bit more complicated. So remember the assignment that we did when you were doing the facts in issue, and you had to figure out the facts in issue for each case or each charge that you were laying. So in this case, you're going to look at your own case study and look at the charge that you are laying, and you have to separate out the facts in issue. Remember, the definition of facts in issue is what the Crown must prove to get a conviction in the absence of evidence. Sorry, let me rephrase that. What the Crown must prove for a prima facie case and includes time, date, location, identity of the accused, and elements of the offense. Now, you can't just say, oh, and the elements of the offense. You have to tell me what the elements of the offense are. The elements of the offense are the things we have to prove that that offense took place. For example, in the case where the guy cuts another person's hand off with a machete, that's aggravated assault. The application of force, directly or indirectly, intentionally, without consent, to whomever the victim is. You have to prove the victim, and you have to prove degree of injury. That is, was he wounded, maimed, or disfigured? And of course, he was maimed because he lost a hand. That's what you have to prove. So the way I want you to do this is I want you to create a table with 2 columns. In the left-hand column, you're going to write down all the facts in issue, including time, date, location, identity of the accused. You don't have to write down what they are, just have to write down that they need to be proven. And then you write down the elements of the offense, but don't write the words, elements of the offense. Write down all the things that have to be proved to get a conviction for your offense. That's a list on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, that column you're going to write in the name, not just the name, the identity of the person who is going to testify to it in court. So for example, if you're using the machete case, the person that was struck with the machete is the victim. The victim can testify as to the time, the date, then the location of the offense. They can testify as to who the accused was. They can testify as to the injury that they had and that they were the victim. So they can pretty much testify to everything in that trial. However, you want to make sure that you have some backup. So you're also going to use the police officer to testify as to the application of force. You know, they can't testify as to what happened, but they can testify as to what they saw, that the person's hand was cut off. They seized the machete, which was the weapon used, and held it for evidence, and they're going to introduce that as evidence. They can also identify the accused as the person that they arrested and the person that confessed to them. You may have some bystanders who were witnesses, in which case you put in that the bystander can also testify to the identity of the accused. You can have more than one person testifying to the evidence on the right-hand side in each box if they have that information and they can testify to that. So on the left-hand side, you're going to put the list of all the facts in issue. And on the right-hand side, you're going to put who can testify to that in court. Because unless somebody actually says it on the witness stand, the fact has not been proven, and therefore you will not get a conviction. So someone has to be on the witness stand saying everything that needs to be said to get a conviction. The third part is physical and documentary evidence. So, for example, in the machete case, there may be no documentary evidence, but for sure there's going to be physical evidence, which is the machete. And so it doesn't walk into court by itself. Somebody has to carry it in, and that would be the police officer. So you're going to tell me that you're going to bring the machete to court, and that the police officer, is going to introduce that physical evidence. If there's a certificate, so for example, in the bouncer scenario where they throw the guy out on the curb and he hits his head and dies, we have to prove that he died in order to prove manslaughter. So we need a death certificate. So who's going to bring that in? Well, that's going to be the police officer. The police officer is going to obtain the death certificate and take it into court and introduce it as proof of death. So physical evidence might be the ring that was stolen, or the money that was stolen, or the physical evidence in the break and enter, the tools used to break in. Those would be all physical evidence. Documentary evidence would be photographs of the crime scene. So, in the case where the gentleman got thrown out of the back of the truck and hit the pole and died, there's going to be crime scene evidence. There's going to be evidence of the body lying, at the bottom of the pole. There's going to be photographs of the car. There's going to be photographs of the place on the pole where the head struck, and the blood stains and hair matted to the pole, etc. So we're going to have some photographs. That's documentary evidence. Death certificates, documentary evidence. So look at your case and figure out, is there any physical or real evidence, or is there any documentary evidence that has to be brought in? What is that, and who will identify? So to recap, 3 parts. First part, role of the prosecutor, role of the defense counsel. Second part, chart, facts and issue down the left-hand side, right-hand side, who's going to introduce that in court. Third part, describe the physical and real evidence that's going to be brought in, and who will bring that in. And that's your whole assignment. So it's not difficult. It might take some time. Your biggest challenge will be to determine the facts and issue, and that's something that you got to do as a group. You got to figure that part out. Keilana's not going to give you the answers to that one. So Keilana, thank you very much for taking my classes, and I will see you all on Thursday. Looking forward to it. Have fun.